Hello everyone, we are reading chapter number 4, The Enemy, from our book Vistas for class 12 English. In the previous videos we have done some portion of the chapter and we came to know about a story where Paul S. Buck, who is the author of the story, has highlighted an incident where when a Japanese doctor came in the contact with POW, prisoner of war, who was an American soldier, and by chance he got wounded, he got a gunshot also. So he treated him, Japanese doctor, Dr. Sadao treated him, he sheltered him, and the servants were not happy with that, and they just leave their home. Now, on the 7th day of the operation, because he treated the POW, so he had to go operate on him. So, on the 7th day of the operation, two incidents took place. One was there in the morning, that the servants left the house of Sadao, and the second was one soldier who was the messenger came to their home and they got afraid. Both of them, Dr. Sadao and Hannah, his wife, they got afraid, and they were sure that the servants who had left the house in the morning, they surely told to the police, and this person had come there to arrest Dr. Sadao. But after some time they came to know that the general of Japanese army, he was not feeling well, so he wanted the treatment from Dr. Sadao. So that's why he was called in the palace. They had just sigh of relief, and Sadao, when he was going to the palace, he promised his wife that somehow, by any means, by hook or crook, he just get rid of this person, this POW somehow. So today we have to read this story when Sadao goes to see the journal, and this incident is given on page number 40 of your book Vistas. So please open your book on page number 40, keep a pencil with you so that you can note down the important points here and the new words. So dear students, as I have told you that Sadao has to go to the palace where the old general was there, and he has to treat him. So let's read. Of course the journal said weakly, I understand fully, but that is because I once took a degree in Princeton, so few Japanese have. So here Sadao, when he went there, he narrated, he wanted to get rid of this person, this POW, and that's why he narrated the entire story to the journal, right? And the journal, who was very weak and sad, that he understood Sadao's position. In this line he is saying, I understand fully. So he told him that he understood the position of Sadao because he had also studied in America at the Princeton University, but there were only a few Japanese who had studied in America, right? I care nothing for the man, Excellency. So at this, Sadao replied that to the journal that he did not care for American man, but having operated on him with such success, but he had operated on him successfully because he wanted to save the humanity only. He didn't save his life as he was his enemy. Okay, so that was not only the motive of him. So he just clarifies this situation. Yes, the journal said, it only makes me feel you more indispensable. This word indispensable means what? This indispensable means necessary, right, to me. Evidently you can save anyone. You are so skilled. You think I can stand one more such attacks as I had today. So here Sadao replied journal that he did not save him because he was American, right? So the journal interrupted him and said, yes, I know you are very skillful. And he felt that Sadao was the necessary part of his life. Why? Because he believed that only Dr. Sadao was there who could save him, right? So he told that to him. And as Sadao had been successful at operating on man, and the journal felt that Sadao was very skilled. The journal asked that, did Sadao think that the journal had any chance of surviving another heart attack as one he had get that day also? So because he wanted to save himself only, so that's why he didn't send this Dr. Sadao with the troop, right? Because he just bothered about himself. So that's why he didn't send him with the troops. So Sadao replied that in his opinion the journal could not survive more than one such heart attack. No, not more than one, Sadao answered. कह रहे आज तो हार्ट अटैक आपको आ गया तो आज मैंने आपको बचा लिया, लेकिन अगर नेक्स्ट हार्ट अटैक अगर आ जाता है तो आपकी जान नहीं बच सकती. So this was told by Dr. Sadao to him. Then certainly I can allow nothing to happen to you, the journal said with anxiety. His long pale Japanese face became expressionless, which meant that he was in deep thought. You cannot be arrested, the journal said, closing his eyes. Suppose you were condemned to death and the next day I had to have my operations. So here, because Sadao told that you cannot be saved if you will get one more heart attack. So the journal said that then in that case he could not allow anything to happen to Sadao, right? This was his order actually, कि तुम्हें मुझे हर हाल में बचाना ही है. He wanted to say that he needed Sadao and so he would protect him. And what was the deal he wanted to do with him? कि मैं तुम्हें जेल नहीं जाने दूंगा और मैं ये किसी को नहीं बताऊंगा कि you have sheltered a POW in your home. So and you will not tell anyone. You will have to save my life, and I will not tell anyone about that POW whom you have sheltered, right? So this was the actually the exchanged words with them. And the journal's long, weak, yellowish face, here his Japanese face, became expressionless because he was thinking about Sadao being arrested. So because he wanted to help him to go to the jail, क्योंकि सिर्फ एक वही डॉक्टर था पूरे जापान में जो कि उसको बचा सकता था. So he is thinking that how he had to save Sadao. So he became serious, right? And he was in deep thought, it is written here. So he became serious. He closed his eyes at the thought of Sadao being arrested and said that Sadao could not be arrested. And further, he added that if Sadao was sentenced means if he has got the punishment to death and he needed an operation the next day, then who would operate on him? So that was actually his concern, right? So that's why he is doing this deal with Dr. Sadao, that he will not inform anyone about the presence of this POW. Suppose you were condemned to death, means you were sentenced to death, and the next day I had to have my operation, then who will do that operation? He was worried about that only. So the journal wanted to say that he needed Sadao and so he would protect him and he would not let anything happen to him. So we have to learn now, that we have to read now, that how Dr. Sadao reacted upon this. There are other surgeons, Excellency, Sadao suggested. To whom he is saying Excellency? to the journal. None I trust. So what was his answer? I don't believe anyone, excluding you. Excluding you, he said. So the journal replied, the best ones have been trained by Germans and would consider the operation successful even if I died. I do not care for their point of view, he signed. It seems a pity that we cannot better combine the German ruthlessness. This is actually the pronunciation of this word is ruthlessness, R-U-T-H, it's ruthlessness, with the American sentimentally. Then you could turn your prisoner over to execution, and yet I could be sure you would not murder me while I was unconscious. The journal laughed. He had an unusual sense of humor. As a Japanese, could you not combine these two foreign elements? He asked. So here, this word you have to underline, ruthlessness, that means harshness. What does it mean? Harshness. And sentimental is what? Sentimentally, that means is what? That means being emotional. And one more word you have to underline here, that is execution. This is sentimentally. So execution is what? The legal punishment, right? So this we have to study here, that what he says here. Clear? So here in these lines he says that Sadao suggested to the journal that there were many surgeons, Your Excellency. So at this the journal said that no, he didn't trust on anyone else other than him. So he added that the best surgeon had been trained by the Germans. For them, the operation would be successful even if the general died. वो लोग तो ऑपरेशन कर देंगे और अगर मैं मर भी जाऊंगा तो भी कह देंगे कि ऑपरेशन तो सक्सेसफुल हो गया, लेकिन we cannot save that journal, right? So he did not believe actually any other doctor than Dr. Sadao. He did not care for the point of view, and the journal added that why he thought that this Sadao is the perfect doctor for him. So he actually added here that the Japanese could not combine the harsh nature of Germans with the emotional nature of Americans. So the journal wanted to say that they did not have such persons who could combine the harsh nature of a German and the emotional nature of an American. So there was a combination of both of the categories in Dr. Sadao, right? Because he was trained by Americans, so their emotional nature was also there, right? And he was a Japanese himself, so that both of the traits were there in Dr. Sadao. So he said that if they would have been able to do that, then Sadao could be harsh and could turn the prisoner to the Japanese, and at the same time, अगर तुम्हारे साथ उन्होंने गलत ट्रीट किया होता, इतना बहुत ख़राब किया होता, तो तुम भी थोड़े ना अमेरिकन की जान को बचाते, right? So he said that, and be emotional and not murder the general during the operation. So why he just said that also? You could leave that person at the beach. Why you operated on him, he said. So actually here the author Pearl S. Buck wants to say that the journal had a strange sense of humor here, usual sense of humor, right? So he had a strange sense of humor, and he was very witty actually. He was very witty, बहुत उसमें अकल थी, बहुत बुद्धि थी, wise man he was. And then he asked Sadao that being Japanese could not he could not be combined these two foreign elements. So the foreign elements to which the journal is referring is the harsh nature of the German and the emotional nature of the American. So he wanted that type of combination here, right? Next is, so at this Sadao smiled I'm not quite sure, he said, but for your sake I would be willing to try, Excellency. So he said he answered with a smile to Journal's question and said that he was not quite sure about it, but for his betterment he was willing to try it out, right? He will do that also. So the Journal shook his head. I had rather not to be the test case, he said. So here the Journal shook his head, and he did not want to be such a person on whom a new trial would be made. Like he did not want to be the experimental patient. Clear? So he felt suddenly weak and overwhelmed. This is overwhelmed with the cares of his life as an official in times such as these, when repeated victory brought great responsibilities all over. The South Pacific is the next two words here. So what is the meaning of this overwhelmed? Please do not read it overblamed, okay? So it will be something different. It is overwhelmed, whelmed. That is what? Full of emotions. Clear? So here suddenly the Journal felt weak and emotional as he was reminded of the problems he had faced throughout his life while fulfilling his duties and responsibilities in various wars which were won by Japan, right? So this is what cares of his life means. What cares of his life here, this one phrase is, that means problems and the responsibilities he faced. Clear? So next, come to the next page, page number 41. In the next line, this page number 41, first line. It is very unfortunate that this man should have washed up on a doorstep, he said irritably. Now the Journal was irritated and said that the happening of the injured man reaching to his house was unfortunate one. वो जो POW उसको तुम्हारे ही सामने, तुम्हारे ही घर के सामने आके क्यों रुकना था भाई, ऐसा. He was irritated, right? I feel it so myself. So Dr. Sadao said कि मैं भी यही तो सोचता हूँ कि उसको मेरे ही पल्ले क्यों पड़ना था, उसको मुझे ही क्यों मिलना था. Now it would be the best if he could be quietly killed. Now they are making a plan. In fact, the Journal was making a plan, and he is saying that the best solution to get rid of him is to kill him quietly, not by you, but someone who does not know him. And he is adding that he would not be killed by Sadao, but by his by some hired people, by some hired killers. Okay, I have my own assassins. Assassins is what? Hired killers. Hired, HIRED, जो किराए पे जो जिनको क्या कहते हैं, पैसे दे के किसी को मरवाया जाता है. ठीक है. So that is what hired killers, assassins these are. He would send by he said, he promised him that he would send two of his assassins. He has two of his assassins, he will add here. So let's see. Suppose I send two of them to your house tonight, or better any night. You need to know nothing about it. It is now warm. What would be more natural than that you should leave the outer partition of the white man's room open to the garden while he sleeps. So here the Journal is saying him, advising him or aiding him that he would send his assassins, his two private killers, right, to him any night or this night, and Sadao did not need to know about it as the weather was warm those days. So he wanted Sadao to act naturally and keep the door of the outer partition of the men's room open. So he is suggesting him, they are making a plan now, कि अगर घर पे कोई आ भी जाता है तब भी तुम्हें कोई रिएक्शन नहीं देना, तुम्हें नहीं ऐसा रिएक्ट करना है कि तुम्हें ऑलरेडी पता था. बिल्कुल अनजान की तरह तुम्हें बिहेव करना है, और सिर्फ तुम्हें क्या करना है कि जो डोर्स हैं उस पार्टीशन के गार्डन की तरफ को जो खुल रहे हैं, सिर्फ उन्हें खुला रखना है जहाँ पे तुमने उस POW को रखा हुआ है. So as it will be easy actually, to give easy access to the killers while the man was asleep, right? So it is their plan. Certainly it would be very natural, Sadao agreed in fact it is so left open every night. So Sadao also wanted to get rid of the man, and he was immediately agreed, right? And he seemed to natural, it seemed the idea seemed too natural also for him, and he added that they did leave the door open of that outer portion, right, every night, so nothing to worry about that. Good, the journal said, yawning. Yawning means what? That is ubasi lena. They are very capable assassins. They make no noise, and they know the trick of inward bleeding also. If you like, I can even have them remove the body. So the journal said here that the over was his talk, and that's why he's why he's yarning here. He's some little bit showing somewhat of his disinterest now. He plan तो बन गया है और वो बासी ले रहा है. And he added that it was a good thing, and he commented that the killers were experts also. They did not make any noise and killed the person in such a way that he bled inside only, and there would be no traces of the blood on his body. He would even ask them to remove the dead body if Sadao wanted. Sadao considered that perhaps would be the best. Excellency, he agreed, thinking of Hana. Because Sadao was worried about Hana कि उसकी वजह से इस POW की प्रेजेंस की वजह से सर्वेंट छोड़ के चले गए हैं घर, उसकी वाइफ बेचारी को सारा घर का काम करना पड़ता है ना, एंड वैसे भी बहुत टेंशन में है वो खुद भी और Sadao भी. तो he was agreed with that कि ठीक है, बॉडी को भी ठिकाने लगा देना. Okay, so Sadao considered that perhaps would be the best, Excellency. So he thought that it would be very good. He left the journal's presence then and went home. He left the journal's presence and went home. Okay. They just made the plan, and Sadao came back to his home. Thinking over the plan, in this way the whole thing would be taken out of his hands. He would tell Hana nothing, since he would be timid at the idea of assassins in the house. And yet, certainly, such persons were essential in an absolute state such as Japan was. How else could rulers deal with those who opposed them? So here, Sadao came back, as I told you, and he is just thinking that the plan he made with the journal, with the help of the journal, he would not be involved in the death of that American man, because he is doctor, so he had saved his life, so he would not be involved in the death. And he planned that he would not tell Hana anything about this plan, because Hana would not like this idea of the hired killers coming to their house. But such persons were the essential in the place were like Japan, because it was a war time going on, and it was only the way for the rulers to deal with their opponents. कि सिर्फ यही एक सही तरीका है, जब जैसे उनसे पीछा छुड़ाया जा सकता है तो उसको मार के ही पीछा छुड़ाया जा सकता है. और because he was trained to save the humanity, so he was not able to kill that person. He was not able to kill that POW. So that's why he is saying that okay, मेरी तो जान छूटी, कम से कम एटलीस्ट सेशन आएंगे उसको मारेंगे. He refused to allow anything but reason to be the atmosphere of his mind as he went into the room where the American was in bed. But as he opened the door, to his surprise, he found that the young man out of bed and preparing to go into the garden. Now, So Sadao did not let anyone. He thought that he just made the plan. He just kept this in mind, and he just promised himself that he would not tell this to Hana also. So he went with this thought. He entered into the room of the American man where he used to stay. Right, but as he opened the door, so he was surprised to see that man out of his bed, and he was getting ready to go out into the garden. Now what he want to do? He was going outside the room. He's going towards the door. He was going towards the garden, right? So what is his plan? What is the plan of the POW now? What he's going to do? This we will study in the next video. Thank you very much.